The Vectri Empire had conquered 17 star systems in the last century. Their warships moved through space like predators, silent and deadly. They had crushed civilizations that were thousands of years old. They had turned entire planets into mining colonies. Their reputation spread across the galaxy like a dark shadow. Commander Zorath stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. His four eyes scanned the holographic display in front of him. A small blue planet rotated slowly in the center of the projection. Earth, the homeworld of a species called humans. The intelligence reports had been very clear. Humans were a young species. They had only discovered faster than light travel 50 years ago. Their technology was primitive compared to the Empire. Their military forces were scattered and disorganized. They had no central government, no unified command structure. The reports described them as territorial creatures who spent most of their time fighting each other. Zorath clicked his mandibles together in what passed for a smile among his species. This would be an easy conquest. His fleet of 300 warships would overwhelm the human defenses within hours. The Emperor himself had called this operation a training exercise for new officers. The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. Navigation officers plotted the final approach vectors. Weapons specialists ran diagnostic checks on the plasma cannons. Communication officers monitored all frequencies for any sign of human activity. Lieutenant Crix approached the commander with a data tablet. His scales were pale with excitement. This was his first major operation, and he was eager to prove himself. "Commander, we are detecting unusual energy signatures from the third planet," Crix reported. "Our sensors are picking up multiple power sources spread across the surface and in orbit." Zorath waved one of his four arms dismissively. "Probably they're primitive power generators. These humans burn fossil fuels for energy. They are barely above the Stone Age in terms of development. But sir, the readings are quite strong. Much stronger than our initial surveys indicated." "The surveys were conducted from a great distance," Zorath replied. "Minor variations are expected. Proceed with the operation as planned." The Vectri fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. 300 warships arranged in a perfect attack formation. Their hulls gleamed under the distant light of the yellow star. They had rehearsed this maneuver 1,000 times. The conquest of Earth would add another jewel to the Emperor's crown. The first sign that something was wrong came within minutes of their arrival. Sensor Officer Thrain suddenly sat up straight at his console. His 6 eyes went wide with confusion. "Commander, I am detecting multiple contacts. Many contacts. They appeared to be moving to intercept us." Zorath turned slowly. "How many contacts?" Thrain's voice trembled as he answered. "Over 2,000, sir. And more are appearing every second." The holographic display flickered and updated. What had been empty space around the human planet was now filled with ships. Thousands of ships. They emerged from behind moons, from orbital stations, from hidden bases throughout the system. They ranged from small and fast to absolutely massive. Zorath felt the first cold touch of fear in his heart. "That is impossible. Our intelligence said they had less than 100 military vessels. Sir, I am receiving a transmission from the human fleet," the communications officer announced. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Put it through." The holographic display shifted to show a human female. She wore a black uniform decorated with medals. Her expression was calm and controlled, but her eyes burned with something Zorath had never seen before. It took him a moment to recognize it. It was anticipation. "Attention, Vectri Fleet. I am Admiral Sarah Chun of the United Earth Defense Force. You have entered human space without permission. You have approximately 60 seconds to reverse course and retreat. This is your only warning." Zorath recovered his composure quickly. He had faced threats before. "Human, you are outnumbered and outmatched. Your primitive weapons cannot hope to penetrate Vectri shields. Surrender your planet immediately, or we will reduce your cities to ash." Admiral Chun smiled. It was not a friendly smile. 60 seconds, Commander. Starting now. The transmission ended. Zorath turned to his tactical officer. What is the status of our weapons? All systems ready, Commander. Shields at maximum. Plasma cannons charged. Good. These humans clearly need a demonstration of vectory power. Target the nearest human vessel and fire. The Eternal Dominion's main cannon released a burst of superheated plasma. The blue bolt streaked across space toward a small human frigate. It struck the vessel's shields and dispersed harmlessly. Zorath blinked all four eyes in confusion. Fire again. Full power. Another shot. Another harmless impact against shields that should not have existed. Commander, Thrain reported, his voice cracking, the human shields are operating on frequencies we have never encountered. Our weapons are having no effect. The 60 seconds ended. The human fleet moved as one. It was not the chaotic charge that the Vectri expected from a disorganized species. It was precise and coordinated, like a single massive organism. Ships flowed around each other in complex patterns, each vessel covering its neighbors while advancing on the enemy. The first human weapons fire arrived like a storm of light. Railguns launched metal slugs at a fraction of the speed of light. Laser batteries painted Vectri ships with beams of destruction. Missile salvos filled space with thousands of warheads. The Vectri shields held against the first wave. But the humans had not expected to destroy them immediately. They were testing, probing, analyzing. Every shot gathered data that was instantly shared across the entire fleet. Admiral Chun watched the battle unfold from the bridge of her flagship, the Unity. Her tactical officers worked with the calm efficiency that came from years of training and simulation. Every move had been practiced. Every scenario had been considered. Sector 7, advance and engage. Sector 3, flank left. Heavy cruisers, target their command ship shields. I want to know their refresh rate. The human fleet adapted to every Vectri tactic within minutes. When the aliens tried to concentrate their fire, human ships scattered and reformed in different patterns. When the Vectri attempted to retreat, human vessels cut off their escape routes. On the Eternal Dominion, chaos had replaced order. Damage reports flooded the bridge from every section of the ship. 3 of the main engines were offline. Shields were failing across the fleet. Communication with half the task force had been lost. How is this possible? Zorath demanded. They were supposed to be primitives. Lieutenant Crix pulled up the original intelligence reports on his tablet. His hand shook as he scrolled through the data. Commander, I have been reviewing the source of our intelligence. It appears that the humans themselves provided most of this information through their public communication networks. You mean they gave us false data? Not exactly false, sir. They showed us what they wanted us to see. Their entertainment programs depicted themselves as weak and divided. Their news broadcasts focused on their internal conflicts. We saw only their civilian technology and dismissed their military capabilities entirely. Zorath understood now. The humans had been preparing for this moment. Perhaps for years. They had studied the Vectri Empire. They had learned how the Empire gathered intelligence. And they had fed that intelligence a carefully crafted image of weakness. The battle had lasted less than an hour, but the outcome was already clear. Of the 300 Vectri warships, only 73 remained operational. The human fleet had lost 22 vessels. Admiral Chun appeared on the Vectri communication screens again. Commander Zorath, your fleet is defeated. You may surrender now, or you may continue fighting. The choice is yours, but I should inform you that we have been quite restrained so far. We have orders to take prisoners if possible. Those orders can change. Zorath looked around his broken bridge. Officers lay dead or wounded at their stations. Fires burned in multiple sections of the ship. Through the viewports, he could see the wrecks of his proud fleet drifting in the void. What are your terms? He asked. Unconditional surrender. Your ships will be boarded. Your crews will be detained. You will provide us with complete information about the Vecturi Empire, including military strength, technology, and the locations of all occupied worlds. In exchange, your people will be treated fairly and returned to your space once hostilities are concluded. And if I refuse? Chun leaned forward slightly. Then, we stop trying to capture your ships and start trying to destroy them. We have been holding back our heavy weapons because we prefer intelligence over debris. But make no mistake, Commander. Your fleet will not leave this system. The only question is how many of your people will survive to tell the story. Zorath had commanded Vikari forces for 40 years. He had never surrendered. But he had also never faced an enemy like this. An enemy that had prepared for his arrival. An enemy that had hidden their true strength until the perfect moment. He gave the order to stand down. 3 months later, Zorath sat in a comfortable cell on a human space station. The humans had kept their word about fair treatment. The food was acceptable. The medical care was excellent. He was even allowed to communicate with other captured officers. But it was the conversations with his human guards that truly changed his understanding of this species. They had been watching the Vecturi Empire for decades. Long before, they developed faster than light travel. They had intercepted communications, studied captured technology from other races, and prepared for the day when the Empire would notice them. The humans had fought each other throughout their history. It was true, but those conflicts had taught them something valuable. They had learned how to adapt, how to improvise, how to turn weakness into strength. Every war had made them better at war. And when they finally united against an external threat, all that experience combined into something terrifying. Word of the Battle of Earth spread across the galaxy. Species that had lived under Vecturi rule for centuries began to whisper about rebellion. The Empire, which had seemed invincible, had been humiliated by a race they had dismissed as primitive. Admiral Chun became a legend among the oppressed worlds. The human who had stood against the conquerors and won. Messages flooded into Earth from 100 different planets. Some asked for help. Others offered alliances. Many simply wanted to know how it was done. The humans had a simple answer. They had expected the Vecturi to come. They had prepared for years. And when the moment arrived, they had given everything they had. The Vecturi had expected minimal resistance. The humans had given them the maximum possible response. In the years that followed, the balance of power in the galaxy shifted dramatically. The Empire began to crumble as rebellion spread through its conquered territories. Humans formed alliances with other races who had suffered under Vecturi rule. Together, they pushed back against the oppressors. Commander Zorath eventually returned to his homeworld as part of a prisoner exchange. He was immediately summoned before the Emperor to explain the disaster. His testimony was recorded and studied by military strategists throughout the Empire. When asked what the Empire should do about the human threat, Zorath gave a piece of advice that would be remembered for generations. Leave them alone. Find another direction to expand. There are billions of stars in this galaxy. Surely we can find ones that are not protected by creatures who have spent their entire existence perfecting the art of war. The Emperor did not listen. That proved to be a fatal mistake for the Vecturi Empire. But that is another story for another time.